There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM. With even more exclusive content, with over 150 channels in your vehicle, including the widest, deepest variety of music, ad-free. Root for your team. Get news. Listen to whatever makes you laugh. And hear all about your favorite stars. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels filled with music and enjoy a favorite shows with SiriusXM Video. Thousands of hours of shows and performances on demand. What you love is on now.
So we're just about halfway through our OEM integration sessions here on CMA Networks, and we've had the opportunity to sit with different brands that are leaders in this category that provide different solutions to make sure you guys can have the tools to get the signal so that, of course, we can upgrade the sound. Well, for today's session, we're in for a treat. We're going to be heading over to the headquarters of MSC in Calgary in their proof of concept store, where we're going to be kind of a student today in the classroom of all things OEM integration, because I think Larry and Chris have cooked up one interesting OE integration seminar for us today. So without further ado, this is CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM, MSC, and it starts now. Hey, what's going on, guys? And thanks for tuning in to CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. And like I said, today we're going to be connecting with our good friends over at MSC, Mobile Solutions of Calgary, in fact, because they do have a proof of concept store, if you weren't aware, located in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, whereby literally they can test just about not only the equipment, but also some of the techniques and strategies involved in the sales aspect, and as well as the technical installation aspect as well. Now, when it came to planning for the show, I asked Larry, I said, Larry, what product are you going to bring forth today? And he said, Ben, I think product is something we might have covered. They did a great session. I do encourage you to take a look at the Match session that we did together with all the great solutions that Match from Audio Tech Fisher has. But for today's seminar, we're going to take things a little bit different. I said, well, I'm curious to find out what you're going to do. So without further ado, let's get him on the screen so I can pick his brain and finally establish what today's curriculum will be. Again, from MSC, we got Larry Penn, the president, and of course, the DSP cowboy himself, Chris Van Rye. What's going on, fellas?
Hey, Ben, how are you?
I'm doing really good. I noticed a little bit different setup today. You didn't even give me a whole lot to work with. Usually we get a chance to kind of plan out and we go through, okay, what product are we going to be covering, and what are the key features and benefits. I guess today you wanted it a little bit different. So Larry, let me start with you. What are we doing here?
Well, that's a good question. We're just flying by the seat of our pants over here. No, I'm just kidding. The whole idea of today, we keep talking about OEM integration and post amplifier installs and loading resistors and interfaces and all this other stuff. And through our travels around North America and talking to dealers on the phone, we thought it was a real good idea to take this time with you guys today and not talk about so much a product, but more in the realm of understanding what a amp and what a post amp is. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing.
Wow. Okay. So we're kind of breaking it down back to its roots of, understanding the scenario so that we could figure out or talk about solutions for it. Because, it's great to have amazing DSP. We had an incredible month of DSP. You guys did some great presentations in DSP. And it's great to have great hardware, amplifiers and all that. But when it comes to integrating, it's all about getting that signal, because without that signal, really, you're no further ahead, right?
Yeah, and that's really what we need to truly understand, what the best way is to grab that signal in the car. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Amazing. Chris, you're so good at explaining real world situations and the solutions that you guys have for it. But, if we put it at a high level, what are some of these challenges that technicians are dealing with, that shops are dealing with right now when attempting to integrate into these modern vehicles?
Well, these modern cars that we're dealing with are throwing so many changes and curveballs at us every single day that if we don't know what we're looking for, we're finding guys are struggling to even recognize the problems that they're dealing with. You know, they might not even know that there's an issue there until it's too late. So as we're getting into these new cars, we're faced with technologies that are so far beyond what our side of the electronics and the audio industry is dealing with. Things like data control, where we've got radios that send a full-scale signal. There's no volume fluctuation. They're sending that full-scale signal all the way back to the amplifier. And when you spin the volume knob on the dash, it's actually sending a command from the radio to that factory amplifier to turn the volume up and down at that stage. Well, if we just jump in there, grab the audio signal, hook it up to our amplifier, and turn the system on, all we get is a full volume out of the system. Every ounce of gain that we've put in it, and we've lost control at the dash. Things like that are a huge curveball. What are we doing with things like door chimes and navigation prompts, cars that have backup beepers or front parking sensors that not only come through the rear speakers versus the front speakers, but in some cases they actually shift left to right depending on which sensor is throwing the alert. Even above and beyond the convenience aspects of what's happening in the car, there's technical merits that we run into, things like amplifiers that shut down output channels, if not the entire thing, when they don't see a specific load that they're looking for. So when we unplug that factory speaker and we plug it into our amplifier or our DSP or our integration device, if we're not showing a similar load to that system, that radio shuts down. Now all of a sudden we've got no sound in there. So we're getting all kinds of different problems and things that are being done by these manufacturers that if we don't have a way to test for them, recognize that those things even exist in the first place, and be able to interpret what's going on, we can't make educated decisions of how we're truly going to improve the customer's experience with these processes. We're going to go through and put all this expensive gear in there, get everything dialed in, and the client's not going to get a better experience. He might have better sound in some aspects. I mean, we've all been there where we've put systems in cars and come to the end of it and go, I think this might actually be worse than where we started. So if we're not making those observations early and making educated decisions based on that stuff, we can really unwind and undo and do a lot of damage to not only our own reputations and our own egos, but the brands that we're representing, our own corporate brand, whether it's our store here at MSC or your store out there in the real world or the industry as a whole. I mean, if a guy jumps in, spends 10 grand on an audio system, sounds worse than where it started, functions poor, and he's got all kinds of problems that comes with that after the fact, odds are he's probably not upgrading the next car either.
You know, Chris, you said a couple things there real quick. I mean, number one, in that quick blurb, you talked at least 5 or 6 different items that probably didn't exist 10 years ago when it came to a factory sound. You know, load.
Yep.
You're talking about, you know, amplifiers and you know, gains that have nothing to do with the head unit, quote unquote, and the list goes on. There have been devices that have come out. I mean, you see in the bottom right here of our screen, you know, a couple items, a couple brands, a couple solutions that obviously didn't exist before, but now they do. I see there's a Mobridge unit there. There's a pack unit, of course, the match on top. And on the right, I believe that's a Nav-TV Zen unit. But you said, and before we talk about the product, I just want to highlight what you said at the end. The last thing we want to do is take away features from a client to substitute for sound, because we're not getting any further ahead, nor are we doing our job by doing so. There should not be a sacrifice of any feature, in fact, because we're there to upgrade, not to take away. So I just wanted to highlight that. Now, onto the product. Larry, tell us what we're looking at down there.
Well, before that, let's talk about the 2 possible ways of grabbing that signal. We either do it preamp or we do it post-amp. And most of us are used to doing post-amp installs where we're taking the signal after that factory amplifier. And I know I've got a lot of experience with that, and Ben, you probably do too from the old days.
I mean, if you're talking about amplifier built into the factory source unit amplifier, then yes, I have lots of experience with that. Now,
why don't you pull up that picture we sent you? Because this is the very first post-amplifier installs that we used to use. So we had the Underdash Pioneer cassette deck, and then right beside that or underneath that with some backstrap, we tied on the what we called the EQ booster. And that
All
was
right.
really our first post amp install.
Let's pull up this presentation. Well, this slide rather of this
Yes.
relic. I'll call it a relic.
It's classic, man.
Okay, it's a
classic.
classic. Fine, it's a classic.
So this was our post amplifier install. It's 70 watts. It's got our EQ, so that's our DSP functionality. And I had a very similar unit of this in my 1972 Roadrunner with the Pioneer cassette deck and the Journey tape installed in there. And that was the way we rocked back then.
Did you have flowing locks, Larry? Tell me you had flowing locks with
just
the
a little
windows
mullet,
open.
just a little mullet. Don't ask Sue to bring that up. But the understanding, and this may bring it all to light, this is the original post amplifier install. We were dealing with the factory radio. If we can just go back to the main screen here now, the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
This is a radio out of a 2022 Toyota Tacoma we're just working in the back right now. So in this radio, let's look at the things that are inside this chassis. And let's pretend it's CD based too, but we got CD and or Bluetooth functionality, CarPlay, Android Auto. So we have the source. And then we're going into the DAC/DSP. And yes, I said DSP, because even in the most basic units from Toyota, we're dealing with all pass filters. We could be dealing with upmixing. We're certainly dealing with an EQ. And then from there, we're going into the preamp, and from the preamp, we're then going into the amplifier, and then out the back with speaker leads. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this chassis. And one thing that I want to bring to light is DSP. So many people don't understand that today's new cars are full of DSP technology to try and make the entry-level speaker that they're putting in this car, so lightweight, not high power handling, but they need the equalization and the DSP effects to make that system sound good. So we're actually, when we do a post amplifier install and just add a 5-channel with a pair of front speakers, a pair of rear speakers, and a subwoofer, we're taking a lot of stuff away that client has paid for and could enjoy in the car. So that's what we need to understand first, is there is a preamp in here and there is a DSP in here. So when we go to an upgraded audio system, now we're using the outboard amp. This is a Burmeister amplifier out of a Mercedes. And this is connected with what we call Most 150. And we'll get into some of that technology later. So what we want to do, and Chris, I'm going to borrow your hands here for a sec, is we want to steal the signal out of here, the best possible signal, and we want to get it in, we want to get rid of this amp, and we want to insert a preamp device right in the middle. So if you want to grab one of those, Chris, and we'll just do a visual representation. This is now our aftermarket amplifier, and this box is going to pretend to be the amplifier that is factory equipped in the car. So this is a preamp device, or we can go post amp. So Chris is going to talk a little bit about the post amplifier installations and then our data controlled installations. So I'll turn the stage over to him.
So as Larry had mentioned, when we come into these things, we've been doing post-amplifier installs for a long time. But with these new technologies that we talked about, we've got a lot more in the way of challenges and a lot more things that we need to think about. So one of the big benefits when we look at designing a system, especially with the match lineup of products, is these are engineered from the ground up for integrating in this aspect, going after the factory amplifier, making sure that we're retaining as much as physically possible in terms of feature sets and capabilities while still giving the added benefits of the improved audio system in there. So in the match lineup, one of the big things that we build is our T-harness solutions. So for a huge range of different vehicles and different categories, we have the ability to actually go through and integrate these in. So whether it be a base audio system like the Toyota, where we're just going in right after the radio, still a post amplifier installation, or we're going into a premium amplifier like we would see in a Mercedes or a BMW or anything like that, what we're ending up with is a system that allows us to actually go through, we disconnect the connection from the factory amplifier, we plug it in here, we then take the other side of it, plug it in. But now what that's given us is our pigtail that comes off the other side. And now we have the full ability to go through and actually plug into our match amplifier. Now we can feed all of our inputs, all of our outputs, things like remote turn on, if we need it. All the match products have the auto turn on circuit as well built into those guys. But now, through the DSP that's built into these match products, we can go through and actually analyze the signals. All of our new match products have what's called ISA, our input signal analyzer. So now we can actually look at the electrical signal coming in. We can see what the frequency response is, so we can see what's going on with factory equalization. We can look and see if there's crossovers on those channels. Are they full range? Are they high passed? Are they low passed, band passed, whatever the case may be. But now we can also go through and actually compare channels as well. So we can sum them together and in real time see how they affect each other. So we can be looking for things like all pass filters or phase EQ in those situations as well. So we get a ton of insights, so we can actually look at what's going on with this electrical signal and make educated decisions of how we're going to deal with it. So even from there, we can choose to go through. If everything looks good and we really want to, we can sum those signals together. If we've made changes, if we've moved from a 3-way system to a 2-way, or if we moved from a 6x9 and a 2-inch to a 6.5-inch tweeter component, we can make decisions based on the information that we now have to best give the end results. The other side is if we get in there and find we've got some real curveballs to deal with, like all pass filters and active systems and weird things with polarity and time alignment, we can actually go through and do what's called a one-to-one routing. We can pass those channels into the DSP and back out by doing nothing more than adding some gain for some better output for the customer and adding equalization to make sure that it's optimized for the acoustics in the vehicle as well as the new speakers that have been put into the car. So with the match lineup between things like our T-harnesses and the electronic capabilities that are built in, we've got a ton of options to go through and optimize that system in the car. So we've got the ability to go through and retain channel for channel. So we talked about things like parking sensors or nav prompts and Bluetooth voice that may be driven through specific channels in the car. A post amplifier install allows us to keep everything exactly as it was in terms of functionality, but improve the audio quality at the same time. Now with that though, any post amplifier installation is going to have an effect on every audio signal that's coming through it, better or worse. So that's one thing we've got to keep in mind there is if we've got a car that's got a fairly high noise floor and we turn around and double, triple, quadruple the power, well, noise floor is coming with it. No doubt everybody who's done post amplifier installs in newer GM vehicles has come across the issue where we've now got door chimes that are really loud. So we've got a couple different things we can do. One, we can pull the overall gain of the system down. Unfortunately, now we're giving up some of the power that the client's paid for. Or a lot of guys will use a DSP to actually cut the frequency between 800 and 1K to reduce the volume of those chimes. But we've got to remember that now we've made that same change to the entire audio system. So even his music is now going to have a hole in those specific frequencies. So making sure that we're understanding that every change we make in those installations affects everything else around it. So what we like to do here, because we have the abilities through the Audio-Tech Fisher DSPs to recreate all of the factory features that are there from all pass filters or time alignment or upmix center channels, is we want to chase where the best possible signal exists in the car. Where are we going to get that? And as Larry had pointed out, that's typically going to happen before the DSP if we can get it. And that's going to happen before the factory amplifier in these cars. So that is where our preamp stage comes in. So we do a lot with our PAC preamp systems. So these little boxes here work really well. PAC has done an incredible job of attacking a huge chunk of the market in terms of the most popular cars that are rolling through installation bays every single day. These guys cover off all the domestic guys, a huge chunk of the Asian market, as well as some of the European models as well. But these guys here are going to give you an incredible capability to go through, just like the match concept, to allow us to actually tee in behind the radio. In most cases, factory radio stays in place to make sure your client's got a nice steady upgrade path. He can start by just adding a subwoofer and then add an amplifier and then add his DSP. Or you can go through and obviously go the full meal deal right out of the gate. But now you've got the ability to tie in right behind the radio and give yourself a group of low-level preamp outputs, 6 channels, front, rear, and subwoofer. Or you can actually get in and add the Toslink adapter to them. This little guy here. So this docks right into the board on these preamps, gives you that 2-channel stereo output to run into your DSP of choice. So with most of the Audio-Tech Fisher amplifiers, especially the match products, these guys are all going to come with your optical toslink in. So now this is a single connection that comes straight into the product. Your stereo inputs are there. There's no chance of getting balanced backwards. There's no chance of polarity issues, loose connections. It's plug it in and go. Your inputs are taken care of. Now you can go through, and PAC actually has a huge selection of output harnesses as well. So you can tie this into your match amplifier and allow you to plug directly into the amplifier outputs on the vehicle side. No modifications, no cutting and splicing, not soldering everything up in there. Again, one more tool to help make sure the system goes in quickly and efficiently, but also accurately. This is going to cover off and make sure your polarities are good on the connection side. So now you just need to worry about making sure everything's good on the amplifier side. But PAC goes through a huge process of verifying everything in the vehicle remains intact. The coolest thing to me about what PAC is doing is before any of the major development on these things happen, one of the first steps they do is verifying bit-for-bit communication on the input and the output side of the PAC module, making sure that it is totally invisible to the car. Make sure that we're not going to have functionality problems. Also make sure that when that client takes the car in for service, the dealer has to tie into it, plug in for uploads, pulling information off the vehicle itself. They're not going to know that anything's changed in that data bus network, which means your client is not going to have any issues when it comes to serviceability or warranties on that side of things. No fights to have, always makes everybody's life better on that end of things. So PAC has done an incredible job with a very full line covering off everything from Fiat Chrysler products, obviously the Dodge and the Jeep brands under there, GM including the Most 50 platform in there, Korean products, Toyota, Lexus. The lineup is just huge that these guys are able to offer. So making sure that you've got these tools available and using the resources on PAC's website to make sure that every application is available to you that you guys know about. So when you're jumping into these cars, you know where to look and where to get the information you need out of it. So a really cool setup on the PAC side of things.
Ben, are you there?
Oh, I'm totally here. I'm taking notes. Actually, I was just waiting for the screen to come back so I can ask Chris a question about the PAC. What is the name of that device from PAC specifically?
So this is what they call the AMP Pro lineup. So the AP4, they actually do a couple of different models on these guys here. So there's the AP4, which is AMP Pro.
Put it back here.
Full range, 6-channel outputs, and then they've also got the AP sub lineup as well that's going to go through and allow you to do just a low pass subwoofer channel in there. So for guys just simply doing an ATA sub with no aspirations for more, that product is available as well. But the AP4 is our go-to on the proof of concept
because
side.
with the AP4, Chris, you can do the sub and then do an amp later if you want. Basically.
Exactly. It gives you more versatility. It gives you a long-term growth pattern so that when you're talking to your clients, most clients, one of the biggest things they're looking for is subwoofer. They want some more fun factor installed in the car, but having the option that, you know what, even if we're dropping a simple 10-inch subwoofer and a little amplifier in there, 90% of cases, that's more than enough bass to overpower the rest of the system. So it's extremely common for that client to come back looking for more on the front end of the audio system. So having that growth pattern in there, make sure that you don't have to worry about, okay, well, we started here, well, we're going to yank that out. You're going to buy a second box now to replace the first one, and that's going to sit in your garage and go bad, or you're going to trade it to somebody for a case of beer or something like that. So when we're designing systems, leaving that option for a potential upgrade path is a huge deal. The other cool product that they've got in addition to the AP is the LP products, which actually allows us to go through and take non-amplified systems and get these types of full range, clean, clear, flat audio signals off of them. So that's a product that PAC has been developing and releasing over the last little bit that opens up great audio solutions for even more cars that are coming through the base.
And that Toslink feature is not part of the package. You have to get the adapter for a Toslink.
Yeah, so they give you the versatility on that side of things to design your system either way. For us, when we're integrating with match products in this particular conversation, that Toslink is something that we include as a standard on our side of things because it allows us to feed in there the best possible signal into the match inputs that are there, because those are high-level inputs, not low-level inputs. But you have the option when you buy your AMP Pro module that you can spec it with the Toslink. There are 2 boxes that come with that Toslink as a standard. The first is the GM Most 50 platform, which is the GM61, and then the new Ford A2B option as well has that Toslink adapter built in. So those 2 guys have it in right out of the gate. The rest of them are prepped for it. You just add the solution in there when you need it.
Final question. I understand. Thank you for walking us through how the T harnesses connect, not only behind the radio, but you just at the end of there talked about how you can connect it through the amplifier as well, for the outputs to the speakers. Great.
Yep.
Are there any power ground remote wires that these units need to be wired as well, or is that already inclusive of the line signal?
So these guys are all included in that harness. So when you're plugging that AP4 in, it's going to pull its power, ground it through all the data connections. Literally everything you need is done in that harness. So it is
plug and play
right into the radio, right into the box, toss link or RCA out to your next device in the chain, and you're ready to rock.
All right, loud and clear. Let's keep it going.
Awesome. So I just want to be clear on the post amplifier installs, Ben, is that it's a great idea when preamp devices aren't available. But one of the things that I want you to understand, as Chris pointed out, we are amplifying everything out of that radio. So if you listen to some factory audio systems, you turn them on and there's already a noise floor there. So we're listening to the noise of the radio and or amplifier combination, and there's a noise floor built in there, and we're taking that signal and amplifying it, so it's only getting louder. Signal light clickers are often put through the audio system now, backup beepers, forward beepers, all that stuff. We're amplifying everything, and it's not the best quality audio signal. Ben, I know you're a good old home audio guy. It would be like taking a Mark Levinson amplifier, the output of that Mark Levinson amplifier, into another Mark Levinson amplifier. Or worse yet, maybe a Pioneer receiver into a Mark Levinson amplifier.
Which doesn't make sense.
That's what we're doing in a post amplifier install. So it allows us to get connectivity, and it allows us to get signal. But is it really playing music, or is it just amplifying everything? And you know, we've talked to many clients about it. Yeah, we can make your system louder, and we can do this, we can do that, and we can retain phase EQ and up mixing and all that stuff that your factory system has. But here's the pitfalls as well. So we're very fortunate to work with these companies that do some killer preamp devices. And then with Audio Tech Fisher, we have all those tools that allow you to go in and do the upmixing again, and do the phase EQ again, and do some cool effects on the rear channels to increase the spatialness of the cabin and do that immersive audio system. So it's always our goal and our recommendation to all of our dealers that when you have the opportunity to use a preamp device, do it, because it's going to make your system much, much better overall in the terms of sound quality. And when you got companies like PAC, one of the things we didn't cover is you can go in, plug in your PC, and you can adjust the volume of the chimes and the signal light clicker and all that stuff, and how your volume control reacts. You can adjust the resolution of the volume control. So all of that, we're designing a system to act like the factory system, because that's what the client has already paid for. Again, we can't stress enough, we don't want to take stuff away, we want to make it better. And by doing post-amplifier installs,
sorry, can I
can't.
add something there, Larry? Not only do we want to not take it away, we really want it seamless.
Yes.
Because it's what, I don't, as a customer, I don't want to have to flip this switch, press that button, and do this to do the same feature I would have had before just by doing one. You know what I'm saying? It has to be a seamless integration as well.
Yes, absolutely. I call it a science project. Clients do not want a science project when they get in the car. Some guys do. If they're tech geeks and they want to play around with stuff, that's fine.
I'm going to say the only customer that like that is radar customers that want to do all kinds of weird stuff to turn their radar system on and off. But the guy who just wants to upgrade his sound, I'm not sure they're into the science project as much.
Yeah, exactly. So we get into the next phase of preamplification. So PAC does a lot with the data supported cars. One company that we'll cover off next is Mobridge, and Mobridge is the king of most integration as well as A2B. So there's kind of three main platforms that you're going to see: most integration, AVB, and A2B. And these are the protocols that are used for the signal transmission. So most is a consortium that was agreed to by the car manufacturers. The car manufacturers signed on. They all paid a fee to the most consortium. If you wanted to build a product that interfaced with the most system, you also had to join most if you wanted to use their little most logo and things like that. We now have AV, which is audio video bus. That is gaining a lot of strength, and that's an open source platform as well as A2B. So Ford is using a lot of A2B, Tesla's using A2B, GM is using AVB, and we're going to see a lot more of the AVB platform as we come along. But to cover off the first thing, and that's that's this orange cable that we see here. So this is a loop. It's got an in and an out. So it comes from your radio into, if it's an older Porsche or something like that, maybe into a CD changer, out of the CD changer and Bluetooth module, out of the Bluetooth module into the amplifier, and it's just a little beam of light. So as Chris was talking about, when you grab the volume control and you turn it, or you grab the bass control and you do that, it's just a digital command that's passed through a fiber optic cable back to the amplifier, to the CD changer, to tell it to change discs or to add more bass or whatever the case may be. So with the platform, can you hand me the Mobridge box there, Chris? Mobridge has come out with a new platform called DAG2, which, turn this the right way around, this is the new DAG2 platform. One of the bigger changes they've made, and I'll put that back to Chris so he can show you the dip switches on there, is the dip switches allow you to configure the Mobridge box for the car. So you don't have to plug in a computer anymore. Everything is done through the dip switches. And as you'll see from that one, the little green connector there that Chris will point out, that is for the brand new Mercedes platform, the MBUX platform with Most 150 over coaxial. And these guys are the only company right now that has this platform available. So if you got a new Benz, including all the way up to the brand new S-Class with the 7 platform in it, this box will allow you to get in there and pull a full-scale digital audio signal from the factory MBUX system in the Mercedes and then into our processor and just go nuts with it. John Covenants from Handcrafted, before he wound that down and sold it off and joined us. His last project was an S-Class Mercedes with 2 V12s in it. It's a 23-channel system. Wow. And we used this box to make that happen. And Jason from our shop went and tuned it. But this is the type of stuff that we're getting into. 23 channels in an S-Class. That's today's new car, but 4 or 5 years from now, that'll be tomorrow's used car. And we need to understand, and it's our goal as a company is to help our dealers understand the difference between Most 25 and Most 50 over copper and Most 150 and all that stuff. Use us as a resource. Pick up the phone, call us. If you got a car that comes in, you're not sure what it is, we have the answers, and if we don't, we can certainly find those answers with our network of people around the world to figure out what you can use to interface with that. So all Mobridge is Most 25. So for all the older BMWs, Porsches, all that stuff, we have the Most 25 box. They do the Mercedes, either Most 150 optically or over coax, as I just showed you. And then we have some other boxes that we'll talk about later from other companies that will continue our path. So all these companies do a great job of most products, and we're happy that we have all those products that we can sell you so you can dig right in and get the project done for the client.
Larry, this is news for me. Like, this is my first time actually getting any training at all on the Mobridge part. I've been hearing a lot about it, especially in those type of applications that you had just identified. Does Mobridge also provide T-harness solutions as well?
No, there's no real T-harness here because we're just plugging in to the Most line. So the factory amplifier comes out, our box comes in, and then you just go into the amplifier harness, the speaker out harness back into the car. So Mobridge, just a little history on these guys. I've known Julian, the president of the company, for quite a few years.
Another Julian?
Another Julian, yes.
Okay.
Julian Merritt. He is an absolute brain when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think he has a Most connector in his head that he plugs into his bed every night to download information. But he is a Most god and knows so much about this. They do a lot of OEM projects in the Most world. So when it comes to understanding the coding and everything that the cars are using, he's the guy that knows how to do it and knows how to fix it. So we're very proud to be involved with their products on the audio preamp side.
Very cool. That's the first time I've heard of that digital coaxial connector. I guess you said it was specific to Mercedes of recent models, late models.
Yes. So depending on the class, from about 2019 and up.
Okay.
All the 2022 cars will be that coaxial style
Interesting.
connector.
Very
So we
interesting.
have the box for you, or we have the post amp install from the Match T harness. But from speaking from a pure sonic standpoint, and I just want to make sure that everybody out there understands that there's nothing wrong with a post amplifier install. But if you just use that analogy of taking your Pioneer radio or Pioneer receiver in the house and hooking its speaker lead outputs up to a Krell or a Mark Levinson, big $10,000, $20,000 amplifier, Macintosh amplifier, something like that, it works and it'll play music, but it ain't going to sound good. And that's kind of where we're going
There are much
with
better
this preamp.
options. There's much better
Exactly.
options. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly.
Last but not least, just a quick detail on Mobridge. That company is out of Australia, is it not?
They are.
That's
Yeah,
very interesting.
and again, an engineering firm that does engineering work for the OEM world. They've done a lot of work for some high-end car manufacturers, designing their digital bus platforms in the cars. And the Mobridge aftermarket product is a byproduct of that. So we are handling the sales and marketing activities on the digital preamp side for North America for them. So we're
Very
pretty
nice. Very
excited
nice.
about
So
it.
definitely obviously available at MSC. And last but not least,
Absolutely.
did I see, Chris, when you flip that over, that also has a toss link out, correct?
Yes. Oh, go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yep,
so
there
this
it
is toss-link connection there, so nice and easy. Factory signal comes in, so in this case here, this is that Most 150 coax connection for the new Mercedes here. So your factory amplifier will come out. This box goes in its place. It's a simple power and ground connection on the backside, but then the audio signal comes straight in here, and then via this toss-link connection comes straight back out. So now right into your DSP, you're off and running with everything that you need. And that Mobridge box replicates the factory amplifier entirely. So
Nice.
all of the features are retained, even things like the factory noise cancellation in the Bluetooth operates as Mercedes intended it. So that client is getting the same experience they had after as they did before, just with a much bigger smile on their face and hopefully a few more goosebumps on their arms at the same
Just
time.
the sheer amount of engineering in that's crazy. And it's up to date, like it's right now, which makes it that much more impressive. All right, Larry, please continue.
Yeah. No problem. The other important facet to that is because it changes and updates all the time, these guys, and that's one of the things that Julian and the team from Mobridge are happy with us because we have the cars in the bay that we can go test. So if Mercedes has done a change in the Most network, and we've done it several times, and the way for me, going back to that Craig EQ booster to where we're at today, we had a Ford Unleash system when we first started doing that, and we plugged their A2P box in, and there was some issues. So we, through the power of the internet, they were able to get into our computer that was connected to the box, read the coding that was coming from the radio and from the amplifier, and write code for their box, email it to me, and we uploaded that into the car within a 24-hour period.
Amazing. And so that is software updatable?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, more than software updatable. With their system, they can actually read. We just plug it into the car. They log in. They can read what's going on in the car in real time.
Amazing.
So there's lots of things that push beyond the boundaries of companies because Mobridge has come a long, long way since some of us have tried it from the very early years. But they were one of the first to enter into the Most 25 world. So one of the things that we need to understand as an industry, without people like PAC and without people like Mobridge and without people like Nav-TV and giving them the push to keep building this kind of stuff and understanding, as you said, Ben, the sheer amount of engineering that goes into these boxes is crazy. So we need to work with these guys rather than criticize them for one little piece of the code that might be wrong, because that can be fixed. We just need to educate them on what they need to fix, and then they get it fixed.
We need to be part of the solution and not a part of the problem.
Correct. Let's make it a better world for all. Save the world from bad sound.
Why don't we do it different, better, and together, Larry?
Hey, whoa. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So the last company we're going to cover off on the preamp side is Nav-TV. We've had a very long relationship with them. Derek Schmiedel, who I've known for years and who has main driving force of our relationship with Nav-TV. I've worked with them a lot on different projects. When they introduced the Zen platform, it was like things dropping from the sky right into my lap, because this allowed us to get into so many cars that we couldn't get into. And Chris, if you want to pass me that Zen box. Again, these guys are an engineering-based company based in Florida. They got it going on. They know what to do. They know how to make it happen. And one of the boxes that we do a lot of work with them on is what we call the Zen V, which is the VAG group car. So Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, Bentley, all work with this one particular box off of the Mo platform. And even up to and including the new Audi platform, the new MIB from Audi in the RS6, again, showing the connection of what we do in the proof of concept retail store. The RS6 Avant, when it first came out, we brought the car in the bay and we took the radio out, and oh yeah, there's a MOS plug on there. So we plugged our Zen V box in, and nothing, no audio. We dug further into it, and we saw another amp in the driver's side quarter panel of the car, and that amplifier was connected to the radio with what we call an AV-B connection, that audio-video bus connection. So we're like, what are they doing here? The MOS plug is there, and there's light coming out of it. What's going on? So to make a long story short, working with Derek and the team at Nav-TV, we found out that the MOS system was in the car but not active on the audio side. So they, us along with, that was Automotive Entertainment, wasn't it? Marty Berry was working with us. They had another car at the same time. And the trifecta of information we were able to give to Nav-TV, and they built a programmer that plugs into the OBD2 port, and programs the radio to tell it that it's now a MOS 150 radio that now we can plug the Zen V in. So that is covering off all the new Audi platform.
Now we got to write code to trick factory radios into sending out a different signal.
It's not like the old days, but that's what I'm talking about. We need to understand what's going on, because now the job is easy. Now you get an RS6 in the bay, and it's plug, toss link out into our processor, and everything works. So understanding what to look for, as Chris said, understanding what to measure, and having the lines of communication open to us and us to the manufacturers from PAC, from Mobridge, and Nav-TV, chances are we're going to figure this out. And if we don't figure it out right away, it's now in the queue of then the factory's obviously got to look at the return on investment. If it's a weird car that they're going to sell 1 or 2 a year from, the amount of engineering time to do that doesn't make sense. But Audi, Porsche, Volkswagen, all out of one box, that's killer from the guys at Nav-TV. So they also do Mercedes, MOS 150 over optical cable. They do the GM 650, the MOS 50 platform for GM, they do as well. So all of this is available through us, and we have a real good handle on what's going on with this. So if you do have a car and you're not sure of, if you visit Nav-TV's website, or you visit Mobridge website, or you visit PAC's website, and you still don't have it down, call us, lean on us to be your partner to get better sound in the car.
So if I understand correctly, that Nav-TV device basically does the same thing the Mobridge device does, but for a different application.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And where the PAC comes in a little bit different is on the T-harness side of things.
Yeah, PAC, I mean, as far as their core business, they just own that market of interfacing into the cars with T-harnesses and all the things with AP4s. It's just a beautiful program, and we're happy to have it.
You know, one thing that I've learned, and I'll share with something that I've learned through this experience of, sitting through these trainings and getting to know the technologies and the people involved. This is a tremendous amount of resource that goes towards integration as an industry, right?
Yes.
And it's step one. I think that's what we're talking about today. This is all about step one, about OEM integration, getting that signal. And what I've heard, and from other brands, whether it was some of the brands you didn't present today, is at the end of the day, the shop needs to use the best product available in the market right now to get that signal. You should not be trying to force fit a brand or product that you might have loyalty with to try to make it work when there is a better option out there. And the reason for that is the only person that's going to suffer in that situation is the customer. The customer deserves the best solution for you to improve their sound. So I appreciate what you guys are doing today by showing different solutions. But I think what the industry has been trying to say is when it comes to OEM integration, here's the information, here are the brands and the solutions that are out there. You as a dealer need to be educated on what those are and make sure you choose the best option for your customer. What do you think about that statement?
That pretty well wraps it up. And just to add to that last statement, and we are your partner in finding the technology that you need for that particular car and how that's going to interface with our products. So everything you said, Ben, is absolutely true. Let's take care of the client first, and that's why we have complete open relationships. I was just on a long phone call with Jeff Smith yesterday while he was in the airport. He's the driving force and the technical trainer for Amp of America who builds the PAC products, and he's in touch with the engineering department all the time. So to have that connection with these guys, we are your conduit to those ears that understand what you're going to need in the Bay. And they're buying cars all the time and testing, and building products that work and stay working all the time, just like Mobridge, just like Nav-TV.
Mr. Van Rye, I would love to give you an opportunity to kind of close this out and give a final message to all those that tuned in. Because, and I'm going to preface, I will set you up for this. I am very appreciative that you guys took the time to do this. 2.5 years ago, when I got back into 12 volt and started learning, all these terms are new to me. OEM integration and DSP and, summing and all this stuff. I didn't know what that was. Now, I'm lucky. I'm blessed. I get to learn about this stuff every single day. But there are a lot of dealers, I am confident, well, if they get a hold of this video that we've just done today and the way that you've basically visually taken us step by step through the process of why this is important and how this works, I think they're going to be very appreciative of it. With that, Chris, what would you like to say?
Well, I think exactly what you just touched on there, Ben, is we wanted to take today so many of these trainings and stuff. They're quick, they're short. We got to get as much information in as we can, and lots of guys are touching on the products and what they do, and this is the full lineup of stuff. But until we understand how to use these things and how to make the decisions of which route am I going to go, and then you can get into what you're going to accomplish with those tools. But today we wanted to talk about that. But the one thing I really wanted to comment on, and I might steal Larry's thunder a little bit on this one, is there's a couple things that we've been talking about here today that are relatively new. Mobridge is one. We here at MSC have started distributing Mobridge back in this, I guess we started playing end of last year, but officially launched at the MasterTech Expo, that relationship with Mobridge and their new DAG2 platforms. But the really exciting one is the fact that we freshly inked that we will be handling the AMP Pro modules for PAC here in Canada and the US as well. So when we talk about what's going on with MSC and our proof of concept store, we know what you need to do to get into these different cars and what tools are available and the resources to help you make those decisions. But we also need to be the guys for you that when you need something, you can get everything that you need to attack in one place. So with all the products that you've seen today, whether they be the Mobridge, the Nav-TV, PAC Amp Pro, or the variations, the harnesses that go along with that stuff, and then of course the match integration products, whether the amplified DSP and the harnessing that goes along with all of that. Not only are we here to help with the knowledge and the understanding and the technical abilities to get in, but the products that you're going to use to attack these projects and make sure you're delivering the best end result at the same time. So really excited to be an even more valuable partner to our dealer partners out there from a knowledge standpoint, but now even more products as well.
That's amazing. Great lineup, guys. Great presentation. I want to thank you on behalf of the industry for doing stuff like this because it means a lot, and I wanted you to know that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care, everybody.
Take care. That was Larry and Chris. the DSP Cowboy, I must mention, from MSC, giving us a rundown. I guess let's call that OEM Integration 101 and maybe a little bit of 201 because they threw in a little bit of advanced concepts in there as well. But I know I appreciate it, and I'm sure you guys do too. All right, we are, as mentioned, deep into OEM integration, so I encourage you to keep it locked on CMA Networks right through till August 26th. Every day, a different brand, all about OEM integration, as you can see up on that poster. Definitely want to tune in every day to make sure you don't miss anything and stay up to date about how to get that signal. We also got a great contest that's almost coming to a close, but it's not too late to register. Kenwood is giving away a brand new dual camera motorsports grade type system worth $700. It's open to Canadian retailers. That's right. It's open to you shop guys only, or girls. Sign up by headed over to our CMA Facebook page. We have that post pinned right on top, so go ahead and register. It's free. We'll be drawing the winner very shortly. And of course, if you haven't already, check out more videos that myself and Chris have done or Larry has done by checking out their playlist on MSC or any of the great brands that they cover, or by category, cmanetworks.com, where the 12-volt industry connects. That's it for this CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks again to the guys at MSC. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
Roll it down.
I am.
You don't need a car to listen to SiriusXM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on SiriusXM.
What?
This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it.
What?